The Legislature Today is on the air from our flagship affiliate, the voice of the Northern Plains 550 Cape Fire, and affiliates Talk Radio AM 1100 The Flag Fargo and Talk Radio 1090 The Flag in the Bakken. We're broadcasting live from the historic Peacock Alley American Grill and Bar in downtown Bismarck, the National Cattlemen's Association Beef Innovator of the Year. You're about to find out what's happening in the North Dakota legislative session. Your host of the Legislature Today is Dale Wetzel, managing editor of Great Plains News and the Great Plains Examiner. If you have questions or comments or to watch the show, go to GreatPlainsNews.com. GreatPlainsNews.com. The Legislature Today is brought to you by the North Dakota Association of Oil and Gas Producing Counties, the Credit Union Association of the Dakota, the University of Mary, the North Dakota Corn, Soybean and Grain Growers Association, and the North Dakota Ethanol Council, the Northwest Landowners Association, Touchstone Energy Cooperative, North Dakota Rural Electric Cooperatives Association, and members Minnesota Power and Great River Energy, the North Dakota chapter of Concerned Women for America, the Expressway Inn and Suites, where a good night's rest costs less, and the Peacock Alley. It's time to get started. Another hour of the Legislature Today is on the air.
This is Dale Wetzel. This is the Legislature Today. We've come to you from the balcony of the Peacock Alley American Bar and Grill in downtown Bismarck, North Dakota. It's a wonderful place to have a drink after work or well after work or have a meal. It's a wonderful atmosphere, and you can look at pictures of historic Bismarck on the walls, and now you can even find a place to park downtown because a great one of the problems of the last couple of days has been that there have been huge banks of snow piled along the street, and those have been melting away a bit and been hauled away, so there's a bit of room. And so come down to the Peacock Alley American Bar and Grill in downtown Bismarck. This hour of the Legislature Today is sponsored by the North Dakota Soybean Growers Association, and we have a couple of gentlemen to speak about water issues, which are, of course, important to soybean growers and farmers and everyone else for that matter. We have with us Mr. Jim Schmidt, who is a Republican from Mandan, south of Mandan, actually. And also we have Representative Kurt Hofstad, who is a Republican from Devil's Lake. We'll be speaking to them in a moment about water issues and other things that are going on in the legislature. First, I thought I'd give you a bit of information about what happened in the legislature today. First of all, one of the bills that got final approval, legislative approval in the House today, was a bill that says that if you're building a building beginning August 1st, if you are constructing a building with more than 7,500 square feet, if it's a business, educational, institutional, or commercial operation, it must have an automatic power door or a power-assisted manual door. This is to, of course, increase the ability of folks with disabilities to get inside that building. We also had final approval of a $5 million workforce training grant pool that will be divided amongst the 5 North Dakota tribal community colleges. This will be administered by the State Department of Commerce. It was one of the legislative priorities of North Dakota's Indian tribes, and the presidents of the community colleges who were here to work this bill, to lobby for it, were quite pleased when it did get final approval. We also have a bill that will end the North Dakota ban on Election Day campaigning. Right now in North Dakota, you may have broken this law a couple of times if you're politically active at all. On Election Day, you can't advocate to vote for a certain person. You can't go around saying, please vote for candidate X or candidate Y. You can't keep a yard sign in your front yard. Your political activity is restricted on Election Day. Now, this law was challenged last year by Gary Emeneth, who is a former chairman of the state Republican Party, and he has a rather large yard in Lincoln, North Dakota, and he has signs on it, and he doesn't want to take them down on Election Day. He wants to keep them up, and he also wants to be able to tell people who he thinks that they should vote for. So he sued. A federal judge blocked the enforcement of this law, which frankly hasn't really been enforced anyway. And as a result, the lawsuit essentially was put on hold while the legislature decided whether to address the problem. Well, I can tell you that it has right now, as this bill stands, and it has gotten final approval. You can campaign in North Dakota now on Election Day as long as you don't do it within 100 feet of a polling place. And there's also a provision in this bill that says a political sign on private property can't be restricted by a local government unless the government shows it causes a public safety problem, which will be interesting because there's a number of municipalities in North Dakota that regulate the placement of political signs. Bismarck is one of them. You can't put up political signs before a certain date, and so that regulation is called into question by this new state law. In the Senate, there was a rather contentious debate over whether to abolish the Board of Higher Education and replace it with a 3-member higher education commission that would have run North Dakota's university system. It called for the governor to appoint a 3-member commission from a list of at least 3 nominees picked by the Speaker of the House, the Senate President Pro Tem, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the Chief Justice of North Dakota, and a representative of an educational group. And one of these members, according to this proposal, would have had to have had private business executive experience, and another would have had to have a professional position within the higher education sector, such as a professorship or maybe a university administrator's job. This bill was defeated in the Senate 24-23, 24 no votes. You need 23 yes votes in the Senate to get anything passed, and that bill actually was a proposal to amend the North Dakota Constitution. It was defeated. There was an attempt later to bring it back up to reconsider. That also lost, so I think that that is a dog that will stay dead, to use an aphorism that's fairly common in the Capitol hallways. One other thing I wanted to mention, a former state auditor, Robert W. Peterson, he died Wednesday at the Baptist home in Bismarck. His death was announced on the House floor today because Robert W. Peterson, who is known by everyone as Bob Peterson, was a former member of the House he was a former member of the House in the late 60s, early 70s. He was elected state auditor in 1972. He served in this job until 1996, when he was succeeded by his son, Robert R. Peterson, who is still the state auditor. In fact, Robert R. Peterson was re-elected last year. Robert W. Peterson's funeral is at 2 p.m. Monday at the Lutheran Church of the Cross in Bismarck. There are also graveside services planned at 11 a.m. Tuesday at the North Dakota Veterans Cemetery, which is south of Mandan. Robert W. Peterson was a coach and a teacher in the Williston school system. One of the people he coached was Phil Jackson, who went on to be a basketball star at the University of North Dakota. He played for the New York Knicks, and also, but what he's best known for is his success as a basketball coach, winning championships with the Chicago Bulls and the Los Angeles Lakers. And one of the things that Robert W. Peterson did during his political career is he beat some really big shooters in the Democratic Party as they were coming up. One of the people he defeated for re-election was Kent Conrad, who ran against him in 1972. Of course, Conrad later became tax commissioner and a U.S. senator before he retired last year. He also, in 1984, defeated Heidi Heitkamp, who went on to become a tax commissioner, attorney general, and she is now serving in North Dakota in the U.S. Senate. She took Senator Conrad's place in last year's election. So, with that said, I wanted to speak a bit about water issues and other matters with our two guests. Again, they're Representative Kurt Hofstad, who's a Republican from Devils Lake, and Representative Jim Schmidt, a Republican from Mandan. Welcome, gentlemen. I haven't put you to sleep yet, have I?
No.
Okay. You gentlemen have both been quite closely involved in water management and water proposals in the legislature. And I'd like to ask you in particular, how satisfied are you with the way the state rules that will govern the western area water supply system have come out? Representative Hofstad.
Well, Dale, the
the bill that really deals with Western Area Water is Senate Bill 2233. And that truly was a contentious bill. We took that to subcommittee. That subcommittee met a number of times, had 20 different revisions of that bill. I asked the clerk the other day how many recorded minutes of recording she had during that time, and she told me she had over 30 hours of recording time. But at the end, I think we have a good product. We have a product that protects the interests of the people out in western North Dakota. It provides the Western Area Water Authority the opportunity and the ability to expand that system. If you look at the numbers out there, Dale, it is incredible the explosion of population that we have out there. Last year, when the Western Area Water concept came to us, we had a member list of some 500 people. Of course, there were member entities that were included in that authority, but we've gone from 500 sign-ups to over 17,000 sign-ups. I mean, it's just an incredible increase. So our emphasis, I think, and our goal was to give that authority the opportunity to expand that system to provide affordable and adequate supplies of water to that exploding population. We also had the contentious part of the plan was we were going to pay for that system with industrial sales, and that part of that plan really put us in conflict with the independent water providers, because we were really delving into an area that we had not been before, and we were in direct competition with private enterprise. But as we developed the plan last year, we were comfortable with the market share that we needed to pay those debts and those loans. As that evolved over time, I think that market share probably changed a little bit. I think the independent water providers became nervous, and the goal of this session in House Bill or Senate Bill 2233 was to work out those differences and to make sure that we still could provide affordable, adequate water to those people there, and also to provide the water to the industry, which is really vital to make that system work.
First of all, can you just give us a synopsis of what the Western Area Water Supply System is designed to do?
Well, the Western Area Water Supply System is really an authority that we created to meld together a number of different water districts and water supply units out there. From McKenzie County to Burke County to Williams County, there's a number of different political subdivisions that provide water. Western Area Water now is that centralized authority that melds all them together and supplies bulk water to many of those different entities, and that was the concept. That's what they are doing. And then along that way, of course, as the population explodes, Western Area Water now supplies water to man camps and many other individual people.
Representative Schmidt, how would you describe the relative happiness of the sides who were involved in the negotiation of this bill, Senate Bill 2233, as to what the final product is appearing to be?
Well, Dale, I think from the perspective of WAS itself, the state taking over the debt, we had to ensure that the state was going to get paid. That was number one. And number two was to take the focus of WAS and put it back into a residential, rural, and commercial usage, and to reduce that industrial usage that they were involved in. And as Representative Hofstad said, that initially it was 15 to 18% of the market share for industrial. So from the WAS perspective, we relieved their debt so that they can focus on now the commercial and the residential water. So from my perspective, we did them a big favor. And I think they're happy with that. Of course, they would have liked to delve a little bit more into the industrial part of it. And so I think they're happy with it. Of course, they didn't get everything they wanted. With respect to the independent water providers, we are going to limit the industrial use from WAS, so that opens it up for them. Keep in mind that IWP, the independent water providers, are selling raw water, whereas WAS is selling treated water. So there's a difference in the product they have. So
there's a difference in the price, too, isn't there?
Absolutely. There's a difference in price. So I think that even though WAS has got the 9 industrial depots, with 3 more being planned and going to be constructed, that's 12, and that is less than what the initial number of depots for industrial sales was going to be. So from the standpoint of the independent water providers, now they know exactly the number. They know where we are, so they can proceed in their efforts. So I think that they, too, are happy with what they have, but at this point they didn't get more. And so sometimes as a legislator you look at it, and if both sides are not totally happy, you did well. And so that's kind of our perspective on that.
What is you mentioned that the WAS, the Western Area Water Supply folks, didn't get everything that they wanted. What did they not get?
They would have liked to have done more with respect to industrial sales. Mm-hmm. And I think that they would have liked to have done more with the point of laterals. And one thing in Representative Hofstad can expand upon this, but getting water trucks off the road is a big thing. And in order to do that, the oil industry is looking at building laterals, which is basically a underground line delivering water right straight to their well site, so that they can. It's supposedly cheaper, and it's obviously less for us with respect to damage on roads. And so when we first got into this, we weren't looking at taking trucks off the road. We were looking at depots where trucks came loaded and went back to the oil site. So this is a little bit different concept now than what it was when we started. And with the IWP, independent water providers, I think it opens them up so that they can have more of that lateral use than what we originally planned.
Representative Hofstad, what is the importance of the development of a lateral network here?
Well, Dale, as Representative Schmidt said, it is important to get those laterals, to use those laterals, because it essentially does get the trucks off the road. We believe that certainly that as the industry changes and evolves, that they will be looking to build more laterals. So the industry will come and they will tap into those main lines, and they will have a supply of water directly to those wells. So it's important to us as now the state as the manager of that of those industrial sales that we position ourselves so that we keep up with the industry as it changes, and we think that's probably the direction. Certainly that's in the best interest of the state to provide those laterals, to let them come in and tap into those lines and keep those trucks off the road. This is a project that the state has assumed a fair amount of responsibility and risk. We've got about $190 million on the line here with the debt that we have acquired. Looking at this over a 23 year period. It's hard to look out in the future and determine what kind of revenue stream we're going to have looking out that far. Obviously, the entire industry could collapse next week. We don't know. But what we do know is that as we developed the concept of Western Area Water, as they came to us, they borrowed a fair amount of money from the state of North Dakota. We backstopped them. We now have taken that debt away. We've taken the default away, so Western Area Water does not have to worry about any debt. They also, as Western Area Water made an agreement with those member entities, there was also some debt involved there. So we too have assumed that debt.
How difficult was that to do, to swallow that pill, that debt?
Well, it was, from a legislative standpoint, it really wasn't that difficult because we had it backstopped anyway. We wrote into the bill that authorized Western Area Water that if they couldn't make their payments, that we would backstop them and cover them. Into that default language was written, if they did in fact go into default, that we would own the system. So the State Water Commission would take the system over. So we not only got the debt, but we got the system, and that certainly was something that wouldn't be very palatable, I think, to us as legislators or to the State Water Commission. So in the final analysis here, I think the state has a better deal. Western Area Water has a better deal. The independents now are working with the state rather than Western Area Water. There was also an issue here that the McKenzie County actually was asserting authority or territorial protection under a federal law called 1926B, which really was trying to prevent anybody from taking water out of the river, and that's a very important part of this plan, to make sure that we as the state can appropriate every drop of water that we possibly can out of that river. There are states downstream that they're looking at that, and they want every drop they can get too. So it's important for us to position ourselves to appropriate that water and to put it to beneficial use.
Representative Schmidt, is this a lasting solution?
I think it is. And one thing I want to clarify, Dale, is that, as Representative Hosted said, we had it backstopped if they couldn't make their payments. But they were making their payments. They were making them on time, and they made a several amount of payments. So we did not take the system because they couldn't make payments. They were. We took the system for other reasons. And so that needs to, I want to make sure that we understand that part, that they were responsible in making those payments. Some of us in the legislature were thinking that at some point in time we're going to be taking that system over, but not for the reasons that we did. And so that was unexpected. I think that as far as a short-term, long-term, we're looking at, I believe it's a 23-year payback period. And based on what we've got going right now, Dale, I don't see, unless things drop totally out of the market, or unless technology changes. We're being told that there's some technology for fracking being done in Texas that I believe has to do with natural gas. If that comes in, then the water sales are going to go down. If the industry decides to start using recycled water and recycling it on site, then that'll go down as well. So we've got to be flexible in order to cover those market differences.
You've been listening to Representative Jim Schmidt. He's a Republican from Mandan, and previously Representative Kurt Hofstad, a Republican from Devil's Lake. We're talking about water issues. My name is Dale Wetzel. This is the Legislature Today. We will be back in a moment.